Hi, this is John Harcher, and welcome to episode 3 of Left Turn at Albuquerque. We'll continue our look at Looney Tunes Platinum Collection Volume 1, this time Disc 2. We'll take a look at such classics as One Froggy Evening and I Love To Singa, plus tunes with Marvin the Martian, the Tasmanian Devil, and Witch Hazel. Let's have a look.
I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. I should have turned left at Albuquerque.
Disc 2 is divided into several sections. The first 6 tunes contain one-off characters that left an impression on audiences. All of these were included on Golden Collection Volume 2 with one exception. The rest of the disc has the complete appearances of popular or well-known supporting characters. First is One Froggy Evening, one of Chuck Jones's masterpieces, as usual, written by Michael Maltese. This Saturday morning staple from 1955 is without dialogue, except for the singing of Michigan J. Frog.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.
A man finds said singing frog and tries to make a fortune, but the frog will only sing for him. Kind of like Mr. Ed, if you think about it. It's a wonderful little modern fable. The restoration is very crisp looking. Michigan J is his own shade of green. Not a lot of cell spots. There are a few smears here and there. Now, the lead character never actually got an official name until the WB network needed a mascot. So they named him after the one original song in the cartoon, The Michigan Rag.
Stop, romp, pump the Michigan, jump, clump, pump the Michigan rag. That lovin' rag.
Next is Three Little Bops from 1957. This is Friz Freeling's later take on the Three Little Pigs. Pigs in a Polka was the first. It's set to a jazz score. Warren Foster came up with the song.
Remember the story of 3 little pigs. One played a pipe and the other danced jigs. The 3 little pigs are still around, but they're playing music with a modern sound.
Now, this is one of the few Warner's tunes where Mel Blanc didn't get a credit for the simple fact that he wasn't in it. Stan Freberg does the vocal stylings. They were originally planning to put Mel's name on it anyway, but Stan finally balked. He's like, come on, I love Mel, but he's not in this at all. That seemed to have won them over, which in turn opened Mel up to start working with Hanna-Barbera and MGM in the 60s. Shorty Rogers gets music credit instead of the usual Stalling or Franklin. This was another Saturday morning short. To be honest, this looks exactly the same as the DVD version. Every now and then, some scene jumps out a little bit, mainly when the wolf is outside. But it's nice and cleaned up. I didn't see any spots or scratches. After that, we have I Love To Singa, a cartoon take on The Jazz Singer by Tex Avery with Chuck Jones drawing, featuring the only appearances of Owl Jolson. But boy, that title song sticks in your head, doesn't it?
I love to sing about the moon and the June and the springer. I love to sing about a sky of blue or a T-42. Anything with a swing it to, and I love you. I love it to, I love it to sing.
And you never even hear the whole song in the short. Look at how I had to cobble that together. This is one of the oldest Warner cartoons from 1936 to get heavy rotation on TV. I mean, it was on Channel 5 all the time. The very first thing you see, though, is a scratch on the cell as the camera pans over to the tree. Otherwise, it's like Three Little Bops. It's cleaned up very nicely, but there's not a major revelation as far as colors are concerned, except the blues, which is odd in a tune about a jazz singer. Billy Bletcher does the voice of Papa.
Enough is too much. Out of my house, you hotshot.
Martha Wentworth is Mama.
Papa, I think you were a bit too hasty.
And Tommy Bond, better known as Butch from the Little Rascals, does Al Jolson, talking, not singing.
That's mine, Pop.
Also, a quick note, I mentioned, I think in episode 1, that the blue ribbon title cards were from the 50s. They actually started in the mid-40s, and this one has one. Though, as you can see, we got the restored credits here on the Blu-ray. And this was another blue ribbon title card, Katnip Kollege, a jazz-oriented short from 1938, directed by two Cals, Dalton and Howard, with Dave Monahan scripting about a cat trying to learn how to swing. Maybe this was instrumental in their growth towards what they'd become later, but there's not a lot of appeal here for kids, let alone someone my age who actually wants to see these. And not sure why this is included. It didn't get a lot of play on TV to make it popular. I never saw it until it was on Golden Collection Volume 2. Go figure. This is also the only one of the one-shots without a commentary track. Now, I just saw The Eager Beaver, a Chuck Jones one-shot from 1946 on Movies right before the Blondie movie. That one was on all the time when I was a kid. I kind of wish they would have done that one here, but as I mentioned in the update, we'll be getting that one on Collector's Choice Volume 2, so we'll see it soon enough. But as I thought about it, the one shot they probably should have included is Wild Wife from 1954. It's a spotlight basically on Bea Benaderet. She takes over the whole short. This probably would have been a better choice. Sorry, guys. As far as Katnip Kollege, they did a really nice job on the restoration. It actually looks better than some of the ones from the 40s. Now, even though this has a blue ribbon title card, we do have at least an image of the original opening credits floating around out there online, this one. Whether or not there's a full version of the actual credits themselves, who knows? We haven't found them yet. Next is the Dover Boys, one of those one-shot oddities with Chuck Jones in the midst of his experimental phase in 1942 and with a cadre of writers including Ted Pierce and Warren Foster. The three Dover Boys from Pimento University, OPU, protect their gal from the snaky villain. This one makes fun of those old-time dime stories. Nearly 9 minutes long, oddly enough, this was a favorite on TBS. Now, as for the restoration, they probably should have taken another pass at it. They must have used really old cells on this one. Scratches and spots are just all over the place. It's maybe one of those, if they really fixed it up, the entire tune would have a totally different look, so they just cleaned it up the best they could. Finally, we have Chow Hound from 1951. A bulldog uses a cat and a mouse in scams to get food unto the point where he becomes a victim of his own success. Now here the antagonist gets his just desserts. A memorable classic, if only for one line.
This time we didn't forget the gravy.
This Jones Maltese one-off is one of animator Eric Goldberg's favorites. This came from Golden Collection Volume 6, but it's well worth including. Had he cleaned it up a little better? No, a lot better. The cells on this must have been at the bottom of the pile. There are dots and scratches galore in the background. The dog, cat, and mouse look perfect. It's those backgrounds that end up distracting. Now, for some reason, the parts with Timothy and the saber-toothed alley caddis, when they're introduced at the beginning, Channel 5 always cut them out. I have no idea why. I mean, they leave the little mouse doing the native in the end, so I have no idea why these were cut. Now, the dog hair is performed by John T. Smith, a gruff voice actor who could also be as smooth as silk.
Now turn on your motor and make with the meows.
He did the evil scientist in Water, Water, Every Hare. He sort of came and went. He started out with UPA in the late 40s, did some Warner's and Universal shorts, and then whoosh, gone. Not even animation expert Keith Scott was able to find out a lot about him. I think some of the voices attributed to him on IMDb are actually Mel Blanc. They sound like voices we heard before and after the time Smith was on the scene. Just one of those mysteries. Next up are all 5 cartoons with Marvin the Martian, 2 of which are in Volume 1. These are also the 2 with commentary tracks. The other 3 make their first appearance on a Looney Tunes collection. All these were directed by Chuck Jones and written by Michael Maltese, except for the last one. Haredevil Hare from 1948 has Bugs Bunny tricked into going into a rocket to the moon and meets Marvin Martian and K9 for the first time. A real oddity in the New York market, I didn't see this one on Channel 5 until the early 80s, except for the segment they used at the end of his hair-raising tale. Up until then, I'd always wondered what cartoon this segment came from. Then around 1980, Channel 29 in Philadelphia started playing it like all the time. Chuck uses a bunch of odd colors to add to the unearthiness. They just kind of leap off the screen. The credits almost look like they're from Forbidden Planet. The characters are clean, but there's a lot of debris in the background, but oddly enough, it doesn't detract from the viewing. Next is the Hasty Hare from 1952. Chuck brings Marvin and his dog back, this time on a mission to Earth to bring back an Earth creature. Of course, they stumble on Bugs, so the simple mission isn't quite that simple. This was on Saturday mornings quite a bit. Mel Blanc refined Marvin's voice here from the nasally first appearance
I'm going to blow up the earth.
to the one we know today, affectations and all.
Oh, that wasn't a bit nice.
This had previously only appeared on the DVD for the Ronald Reagan film The Hasty Heart. Some really cool perspective work during the opening credits. It's almost 3D-like. Colors are clean but muted. 1 year later, Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century was released. Futuristic hero Daffy and sidekick Porky battle Marvin Martian over Planet X. One of Chuck Jones's many masterpieces, this one is just as much a testament to layout and master Maurice Noble. Just the look of the cartoon blows you away. And as usual for a lot of the best Daffys, this was also a Saturday morning staple. As for restoration, honestly, I thought this one would look better. It's pretty clean, but nothing jumps off the screen at you, at least until they get to Planet X. Next is Hare-Way to the Stars from 1958. A rocket ends up over Bugs' hole, which he accidentally climbs into. He ends up on a bizarre space station with Marvin as he's about to blow up the Earth. Bugs steals his secret weapon, so Marvin sends bird-like Martian monsters after him. This was another Saturday morning staple. This time I remember this all the way back on CBS. Technically it's on DVD, but only in the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie. Colors are nice and odd, and the space station has a really cool 3D look to it. Last up is Mad as a Mars Hare from 1963 and released on the Hare Extraordinaire DVD. So you get to see it here in its original non-crop form. More on that when we do that disc. Marvin's planet gets invaded by Astro Rabbit Bugs and the two battle it out. Maurice Noble's layouts, he also co-directed by the way, are impressive as always, but they don't seem to be as utilized as much when compared to some of the other Marvin tunes. One of Chuck Jones's last before shipping off to MGM, this one was written by John Dunn. This one was also on Saturday mornings occasionally. Colors are deep on this one. Debris is mostly gone since this was a very late one and they could probably afford new cells at that point. All 5 Tasmanian Devil tunes are up next. They come from a variety of sources, all directed by Robert McKimson. First is Devil May Hare from 1954. The Tasmanian Devil bursts onto the scene as McKimson and writer Sid Marcus create the last of the classic Warner's characters. Bugs is pitted against the whirling beast, and he comes up with original ways to slow him down. Much like the famous no bullfighting dictum that led to Bully for Bugs, producer Ed Stelter insisted no more Tasmanian Devil cartoons after this, until Jack L. Warner wanted to know when the next Tasmanian Devil cartoon was coming out. This one was from Golden Collection Volume 1. Very clean, though nothing really pops out. I did notice, though, how the backgrounds are really on the sketchy side. This is also the only one of the 5 to have a commentary track included. In Bedevilled Rabbit from 1957, Bugs ends up in Tasmania in a carrot crate and goes through the usual Taz jokes, though the ending has Bugs dressed up as a Tasmanian she-devil for a change of pace. Written by Ted Pierce, this is another one from the Hare Extraordinaire DVD, so it's also corrected. It does look about the same as it did on DVD. Backgrounds are a little more detailed, but spottier as well. A few times in the early scenes, they reuse the same animation as Devil May Hare. Later that year, McKimson and Pierce paired Daffy Duck with the Tasmanian Devil with great results in ducking the devil. Taz escapes from the zoo on the hunt for Duck, but with a reward on the offering, greedy little coward Daffy comes up with a way to catch the crazy devil. Now, while this was the only one of the 5 to regularly appear in syndication, Channel 5 cut the beginning of this tune out for whatever reason. Now, in my mind, this is probably the best use of Taz, even with all the ones with bugs. It was originally on the Frustrated Fowl DVD at another correct presentation, and guess what? They used some of the same animation again. This one is clean, but nothing just jumps out and grabs you that it's that much better than before. Next is Bill of Hare from 1962, written by John Dunn. Interesting credits as it plays off the Bill in the title. Taz is dropped off a boat and finds Bugs under a dock trying to make dinner. There's a lengthy sequence with a kettle as the whole tune revolves around cooking. McKimson returned to the character after 5 years off. At least he didn't use the exact same animation again. Don't really remember this one too much, probably from Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network first, though I remember the whole Northbound Moose joke. I believe it actually is in the Boomerang rotation at the moment. Near as I can find, the only other time this appeared on home video was on the Japanese Laserdisc back in the 90s. Blu-ray loves light green, so that color really stands out here. Finally, we have Dr. Devil and Mr. Hare from 1964. Bugs tries to slow Taz down by playing every kind of doctor in the book. Checkup, psychiatrist, maternity, and surgical. It's late in the game for the Warner's Toon Studio, so the quality takes the dip, but McKimson and Dunn still keep most of it on a level par with the earlier cartoons. Yet one more from Hare Extraordinaire. I guess this is how they're correcting that bargain disc by redoing the tunes on high-priced Blu-ray. And, there's that animation again as the animals run away. This one, as well as the first 2, were regularly on the Saturday morning shows. It's odd, but for all 5 of these, Blu-ray upgrade really wasn't anything major. They cleaned up okay, and only one really had any bad flaws. Witch Hazel is next, and she made all of her appearances in the following 4 tunes, with the first 2 having commentary tracks. First is Bewitched Bunny from 1954. Banner year for the rest of the new characters, looks like. Bugs comes to the rescue of Hansel.
Hansel? Hansel?
And Gretel as they're in the clutches of Witch Hazel. First appearance of the old girl, voiced by Betty Rubble, since Rocky the Flying Squirrel wasn't working at Termite Terrace yet. This was a network short, a typically cinematic Chuck Jones of that era, written as usual by Michael Maltese and appearing on Golden Collection Volume 5. This is one of those tunes where the high definition highlights flaws more than enhances the good parts. It's almost as if Bugs is dropped into a UPA cartoon. The character they're highlighting was a little on the sketchy side for her first time out, and the kids Gretel and Hansel
Hansel? Hansel?
weren't that well drawn either. Basically a clean but a little on the drab side. Prince Charming's outfit actually looks best. This one has a commentary track, and it ends with one line that I'm sure ended up leaving Mr. Maltese on the couch that night.
Sure, I know. But aren't they all witches inside?
Next is Broomstick Bunny from 1956, this time written by Pierce and originally on Golden Collection Volume 2. Bugs drops by Witch Hazel for trick or treat and is mistaken for the ugliest witch in the world, a title Hazel wants. Now, according to June Foray on the commentary track, she says Chuck Jones based the good-looking witch at the end of the cartoon on her. Wow, who knew Rocky the Flying Squirrel was such a babe? This one was on Channel 5 all the time, and finally, one where the colors jump out at you again. And the bizarre backgrounds give a different feel in HD. They harken back to Chuck's experimental days. No spots, but a few streaks show up here and there. Next is A Witch's Tangled Hair from 1959. This is the only Bugs Bunny solely directed by Abe Levitow, with script by Maltese. Will Shakespeare gets the opening scene of Macbeth from Hazel, who's cooking up bugs for one of her spells. He then runs into Castle Macbeth to save himself, with Will following, jotting down ideas. Looks like this has never appeared on home video in any form before this. It showed up occasionally on Saturday mornings. I think I even remember it back on CBS. Oddly enough, right around the time this disc came out, Cartoon Network did a Looney Tunes New Year's Day marathon, and this was part of it. Hadn't seen it in a while before that, but it's currently in the Boomerang 130 or so tune rotation. Picture early on is okay, but once they get inside the castle, it improves greatly, especially the Romeo and Juliet segment. Finally, we have A Haunting We Will Go from 1966. Daffy's niece gets scared by witch Hazel while she's trick-or-treating. So he goes to talk to her about it, but she's changed Speedy Gonzales into exact copy of herself, so hilarity ensues. Well, not really. I found it kind of confusing myself. This is from the DePatie Freeling era, the only major director from the old days still working with Robert McKimson, so he does the duties here along with Pierce and Bill Danch on script. From Golden Collection Volume 4, this was actually June Foray's last Looney Tunes voice work until the 70s. I don't ever remember seeing this one on TV. If it was probably on NBC or Nickelodeon, because they're the ones that showed all these Daffy and Speedy shorts. Frankly, if it wasn't included for completion purposes, I'd have put this at the very bottom of tunes I'd ever want on Blu-ray. Lots of blue in this one. Other than that, it's a little on the drab side. An unlikely character is up next, kitty-loving bulldog Mark Anthony. These were all done by the director-writer duo of Chuck Jones and Michael Maltese, and were in syndication quite a bit. First is Feed the Kitty from 1952, an odd couple if there ever was one. A bulldog becomes protector to a tiny kitty cat and keeps her hidden from the woman of the house, Bea Benaderet. Only Chuck Jones could get away with something that threatens to be so cloyingly cute, yet makes it enjoyable. The dog's name, Mark Anthony, is mentioned, but you don't know the cat's name is Pussyfoot. Neither did I, and I'm glad I didn't. This is from Golden Collection Volume 1, and ouch! Oof. The tune opens with eyes blinking in the dark, and there are spots all over it. This one's in the clean character, dirty background school. There's some nice textures on a few backgrounds, but overall the look is on the level of Scaredy Cat from the last disc. This is also the only one of the three to include a commentary track. A year later, the duo return in Kiss Me Cat. This is one of those tunes that threatens to be too cute, but ends up being okay. Bulldog Mark Anthony tries to teach cute little kitten, you know her name, how to get mice, but she ends up getting subjugated by the little rodents, and it's up to her canine friend to save her. It's bizarre to think of a bunch of grown men coming up with this concept, but they did. Not only that, but they use it over and over and over again. This one's from Golden Collection Volume 4. Colors look a lot better on this one, much brighter, and there's nice shadows and depth too. Not many spots or scratches. Feline Frame-Up came out in 1954. It's making its home video debut here. Claude Cat joins our happy twosome in Chuck's third Mark Anthony epic. He picks on little Pussyfoot, and so Mark Anthony pummels the daylights out of him, but all the owner sees is the dog picking on the cat, so he whacks the dog. Sort of echoes back to a Fresh Airedale type of Injustice tune. We'll talk about that eventually. At least justice finally done in the end. Mel does the dog noises. Robert C. Bruce is the voice of the owner. Colors are nice and bright, not a lot of spots. We'll see more of Claude on a later collection. And there's actually a fourth Mark Anthony short, Cat Feud from 1958. Not sure why it wasn't included here, except the dog and cat are sort of antagonistic than together. But it's also on Golden Collection Volume 4, so we'll get around to it eventually. Finally, Daydreamer Ralph Phillips has his 2 cartoons collected here, but we'll hear more from him, or someone that sort of looks like him and has the same name, later. These were done by Jones and Maltese, and Dick Beals does the voice of Ralph. First from 1953 is from A To Zzzzz. This appeared on the Academy Awards collection from 15 or so years back. Ralph Phillips daydreams away in the first of his only 2 shorts. Guess the other one wasn't nominated since it wasn't on the disc. Surprising when you think how ubiquitous he seemed to be on the Saturday morning show. Overall, the shorts cleaned up and not too bright, except the Indians, which probably were edited out eventually. No spots that I saw, but there's a horrible hair off to the side during the diving sequence. Oof. There's also a quote-unquote new commentary track by Eric Goldberg that was probably recorded for its possible appearance on a Golden Collection box, but was left off when it appeared on the Academy Awards collection. Now, the commentary track that did show up on that set is also here, so this has 2 commentary tracks on it. The other one is Boyhood Daze from 1957 in Golden Collection Volume 6. The first segment has natives boiling Ralph's parents. Dad is voiced by Dawes Butler. And surprise, surprise, it doesn't look familiar. What a shock. The rest of the tune has Ralph fighting aliens, which I've seen many times. Oddly enough, the Martian spaceship Ralph battles look a little like Discovery from 2001. Wonder if Doug Trumbull saw this. Colors are much brighter in this one, especially in the opening jungle sequence. There's a few spots, but not too bad. This one also includes a commentary track, just one. Ralph later made an appearance in the pilot for The Adventures of the Roadrunner. That would have been a nice extra on this disc since it hasn't been seen all that much. There's actually some new content in the documentary section. The ones on Marvin the Martian, Tasmanian Devil, and Ralph Phillips are brand new, made in the same style as the old ones from the DVD collections. Also included are the behind the tunes for One Froggy Evening and Wacky Warner one-shots. The weird thing is the parts with people like Jerry Beck and Leonard Maltin are in full HD, but the cartoons are in standard definition. As mentioned at the beginning and from my descriptions, you can see there are various levels of restoration. But if you really want to see the difference, pop in one of the behind the tunes shorts that weren't upgraded at all. It looks like there's a film on the picture and the restored ones take that film off. Or if you really want a contrast, put in disc 3, which is made up of bonus cartoons but are all in standard definition. We'll deal with those next episode. Now before we go, a left turn at Albuquerque Halloween update. You may have heard me mention that Boomerang right now doesn't have that many Looney Tunes in rotation. I think at one point it was like 130, and I think now they're down to like only 108. But this Halloween, for the first time since July 4th, 2019, at least as far as I can figure out, they will be adding new Looney Tunes cartoons into their rotation. It looks like just for Halloween, but there's stuff we haven't seen in a while on the channel. There'll be things like all 4 Witch Hazel cartoons, which we just talked about. The 2 with Gossamer, Haredevil Hare, and Water Every Hare. They'll have the first 2 Porky and Sylvester's in the Haunted House, Scaredy Cat, which we talked about last time, and Claws for Alarm. They'll have Hide and Go Tweet, Hide and Hare, Prize Pest. I think they even have one of the newer ones, Night of the Living Duck. So that's at least something of interest. So if you have Boomerang on your cable system, try to watch it. And then if you don't, like Larry Kudlow says, just text your favorite 9-year-old and she'll figure out how to DVR it for you. So enjoy that. I moved up the release of this a couple days early just to get the news in. So enjoy until next time. Next time we'll go over the bonus disc to the Blu-ray version of Platinum Collection Volume 1, which gives us a boatload of Chuck Jones. I'm John Harter. Thanks for watching.